All right, so it's that time of the school year. I'm compiling all of my curriculum for my kids for our new school year. And today I'm going to share with you guys our second grade homeschool curriculum. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Joni and I am the mom behind simplelivingmama.com, where we help moms simplify life, home, and homeschool. And here on the YouTube channel, I talk a lot about homeschooling. I talk about the different curriculum that we're using. I talk about how I am homeschooling my whole tribe of 7 kids. I talk about ways that we can encourage each other. And I am hoping that I can sort of encourage all homeschool moms to pursue excellence with their kids and not laziness. I've noticed over time that there are some changes that I have to make in my own homeschool because things are not necessarily going the way that I envisioned them just because of life and different things that have happened. But I decided that, hey, this is on me and I can make some changes. So today I'm going to share with you what I am doing for my second grader. I have already shared some other curriculum hauls and different things that I'm doing with my other children, so you can check out those videos if you're interested. But today we're going to talk about second grade. So for the most part, I use Mater Amabilis. He is going to be doing level 1A, year 1. So if you are like, you have no idea what that is, it is a Catholic Charlotte Mason curriculum. It's completely free. You do have to purchase the books, but there's tons of resources there available for anyone who is interested in homeschooling their kids the Charlotte Mason way if you are a Catholic family. A lot of the books I have found overlap with Amabilis Online. That's obviously not a Catholic curriculum. There's just some things that are different obviously as well, and there's some very Catholic books involved with Mater Amabilis. So that's why we decided to go with it. And I do still actually use some resources from Amabilis Online as well. I tend to mix and match. You'll also notice that I'm not 100% Charlotte Mason. I use workbooks. I tend to use flashcards, and some of the things that we use are not considered Charlotte Mason curriculum, and I think that's okay. We do what works best for our children, and we don't have to be married to a certain philosophy or a certain curriculum either. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of books. I've already had some questions on some of my other videos or blog posts about how you fit all of this in, and I do plan to do a video. It'll probably be out next week, sort of going over my schedule and how I'm planning to do this with 7 children. But if you'd like to know how all of the books that I show you for one particular child fit into a school year, then I do highly encourage you to look at the Mater Amabilis website because it lays it all out. And you will find that not every book is used throughout the entire school year. Some are only used for a certain term. Some books are used throughout multiple years and are just read weekly, little tiny segments from the book, read once a week or whatever. It really just depends. You've got to look at the website and look at all of the syllabi to really understand how the curriculum works and fits together. But just know that everything that I'm going to show you today is not done in one day. It's often broken up and spread throughout the week. And some of it is not even done in one term. Our science, for example, some of it will be done in term 1, and then some of it will be done in term 2, and then some of it will be done in term 3. We're going to be studying different things. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with, and I'm looking down here at my pile, I'm going to start with our religious study. So for him, we are going to be reading A Life of Our Lord for Children. This is a wonderful book. I read it with my 2 that are going into 4th and 5th grade. We read this one over the course of 2 years, and it's just a great, wonderful, beautiful account of Jesus's life. So we will be reading this for our New Testament study. And then for our catechism, I do tend to stick with the Faith and Life series. I like the way it's laid out. It's simple. He's doing book 2. And I mean, you just open it up. There's usually a beautiful illustration and a Bible verse that is great for copy work, and then we read, and then we discuss at the end of the chapter, and we do that once a week. For his saint stories, we are going to be reading A Catholic Child's Illustrated Lives of the Saints, and this is one that I read with my older children as well. And I do get a lot of my books used, so I get a lot of my books used, so that is how I am able to afford such a huge amount of books, and the kids pass them down, so they get used by my kids more than once. And then we also have Catholic Tales for Boys and Girls. We'll be reading this at some point in the school year, and I do not yet have our Advent reading or our Lent reading. I think that I'm going to have to order those or find those. Sometimes those books are difficult to find, so we'll have to see how that goes. But that is so far what we have for religion. Now we're going to talk about literature. So the main literature book for this school year is, I'm looking at it because it's on my bookshelf, Classic Myths to Read Aloud. I had a really rough time with that book with my other children, so I decided to get the Delars Book of Greek Myths. I've never had this book. I've heard about this since the beginning of my homeschool journey, and we've never had it. We've never read it. I'm not even sure how much of an overlap there is. I'm gonna have to go through that when I'm doing my homeschool planning, but I think that this one might be a bit more interesting because it has so many wonderful illustrations, and that will help keep him focused. I noticed my other children just had a really, really difficult time even imagining what I was reading about, and the narrations were difficult. So if, if this book works out better for us, then this is what we're going to stick with. If I find that the other book is actually better, then I'll go back to that one, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then we're going to be doing lots and lots of classic literature. I'm going to be doing a lot of read-alouds. We've already started our read-alouds. Right now we're reading The Wild Robot, and we're reading The Princess and the Goblin. I had no idea. My 4-year-old loves The Princess and the Goblin. I had no idea that was going to happen, but she loves that book. And those are not for narration. Those are just simply to be read and enjoyed. So we will have a very large variety of classic literature books, and then also just these different books. Once he is more comfortable with reading, I will actually have him read these to me, but right now I'm reading them to him. So we have all of the Little Bear books. We love, love, love Little Bear, and I do have the original Little Bear book, but it's not here with me. Then Al at Home. This has been one that has been a great reader for my kids. Once they really grasp reading, they read this one, and then all of the wonderful Frog and Toad books as well. So that is our plan for literature for him this school year. Now I'm going to get into what we are doing for phonics. So this guy is a little bit of a struggler when it comes to phonics, and we are still working on learning to read and all of that. So I have tried different things. I noticed he was not really responding very well to my traditional way of teaching reading. With the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons book. So I decided to purchase this book, Phonics Pathways. And the reason that I decided to go with this book is because it has a lot of games and different kinesthetic ways to practice phonics, and I think that he's going to respond better. We've actually already started this book, and I am planning on sticking with this because the thing teaching phonics is you really just need to stick with something. Once you find something that you think is going to work, you need to stick with it all the way through. So we're going to stick with this one. I am doing 10 minutes of phonics instruction every day with this book, and we're going to keep going with that. He does have reading eggs as well that he does. It's kind of like as a screen time reward or a treat, and he does enjoy reading eggs. And then we are also doing the Bob books. So he's kind of like, we're trying to practice phonics with the Bob books, but he's also kind of just memorizing and learning sight words and different things like that while we're going through these as well. So I do think once his fluency gets a little bit better, once he's progressed a little bit more with the phonics, then he will probably be able to fly through these, but we'll see how that goes. That's my plan. And then once he is through the Phonics Pathways book, I do have the book 1, but it's not in this pile. He's going to start off with Explode the Code book 1 and then move into book 2. And I am hoping by the time we're done with 2nd grade, we'll be done with book 2, but we'll see how it goes. This is kind of like one of those things where we are moving at our child's rate of progression, and I'm also still trying to really make sure that we are getting that work in every single day, and I know that eventually it's all going to click. I have found with my children, some of them have learned to read earlier and some of them have learned to read a little bit later, and it's like once that light bulb goes off, they're off. And you don't ever really know exactly when it's going to take off. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others. You just keep practicing with them, keep going with them, and then the light bulb goes off and they're reading really, really well. So that's what we're going to do with that. We're also going to start, this is my old copy of Language Lessons for Today, grade 2. We love language lessons for today, and we're going to start him off on that. So that now that he's in 2nd grade, he can do his language lessons for today. For handwriting, he's going to be moving into Printing Power from Handwriting Without Tears. I love Handwriting Without Tears. Great program. And then for fun, we have Draw Right Now. This is something that the kids have all enjoyed. So he'll have little different farm animals or animals to draw and some copy work, and that is what we're going to do for phonics and handwriting. Now let's talk about math. So I did a review of Math with Confidence 1st grade. He's not quite done with that one. We're going to finish up Math with Confidence 1st grade, and then we're going to move into Math with Confidence 2nd grade. Love, love, love Math with Confidence. I wish I'd had this at the beginning of my homeschool journey. So we are doing Math with Confidence 2nd grade this year. And then for our geography and earth studies, we have quite a few different books here. And like I said, these are going to be broken up over the 3 terms that we're doing for our school year. So for our, I think they call it like people and places study, we're going to do a different book each term. So we're going to do Red Sails to Capri for 1 term. We're going to do The Children of Noisy Village for another term. And then we're going to do The Family Under the Bridge for probably going to change the order of those. We're going to do The Noisy Children first, The Family Under the Bridge for term 2, and then Red Sails to Capri for term 3. And then for our geography study, we're going to be using the book Geography from A to Z. We're going to be using the Maps and Mapping book from Barbara Taylor, and then also the Weather and Climate book. And these are not long, drawn-out lessons. They're short, gentle lessons spread throughout the year. So it's not going to take the place of his science courses. It's simply going to be our geography and earth studies units. Okay, so let's talk about history. This is where I kind of veer away a little bit from Mater Amabilis when it comes to our history studies for this age. Typically, they have you reading This Country of Ours. I have my older children read This Country of Ours, and I do something else for my younger kids for our early American United States history study. So we're going to read Stories of Great Americans for Little Americans. This is probably going to be broken up over 2 years. So I won't read this entire book the first year. I will read some of this book and I will kind of correlate it to the story of the U.S. This is from My Father's World. I really, really like My Father's World, Adventures in U.S. History. So I do pull a few things from that to use for my younger kids. So we'll be reading through this as well. And then I've got some other books. So we have all of the Delar books, that we're going to be reading: Columbus, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin. I also have a Pocahontas book. That's what we're going to be doing for United States history, along with, there's one more book. I think it's The Catholic Faith Comes to America that I need to purchase. That's been another one that's been a little bit more difficult for me to find, but I'm hoping that I can find it before we start our school year. I also have this book, Who's Stepping on Plymouth Rock. I have a ton of early American history picture books that I will probably pull off the shelf for him. We may or may not read them together. I may just, leave them in the book basket for him to look at during his quiet time. But they'll correlate with whatever it is we're studying in our main text. So I love early American history. It's one of my favorite things to teach. So I have a lot of resources that go along with that study. So that's what we're going to be doing for history. And then for science, I've kind of veered away from Mater Amabilis a little bit. I talked about how I really do enjoy The Good and the Beautiful's science. So we have science for little hearts and hands, fields and flowers. So for term 1, we're going to be studying plants. And then in term 3, we're going to be studying insects. And this particular curriculum includes plants, insects, and then some other animals as well. So what I'm thinking about doing is for term 1, we'll do the plant section of this curriculum along with some of the suggested books that I already have. They're still on my bookshelf, but we'll just read through those. I'm not really planning on doing a lot of plant experiments, and the reason for that is most of the time we're avid gardeners. So we did not really plant a garden this year. We do still have flowers and things that came up, but most of the time we plant gardens, and our kids are very involved in that. So I'm not planning on doing any of those experiments or anything like that. We're just going to read, and we're going to talk about the different things that we read about when it comes to the plants. For the insect unit, I also have a ton of insect books, and we are going to be using, hang on one second. We're going to be using Home Science Adventures Discovering Insects to go along with that. So that's going to be kind of like what we're going to do for our insect unit for term 3. And I know in Charlotte Mason, we don't really call them units, but our insect study, okay? Term 2 is going to be the Burgess Bird book for children. I do have a lot of bird books as well. When I did this study with my kids who are now going into 4th and 5th grade, it was like the biggest hit. My kids are still bird watchers, so it's wonderful. I highly recommend doing the bird study. So we're going to read this book, and then we're also going to do the Home Science Adventures Discovering Birds kit. So that's what he's going to be doing for his science, and I'm really, really excited about it. And then finally, for art, I did decide to get a formal art curriculum. Now, in years past, we've done art classes through co-ops or other community groups that we've been a part of. I had a video on why we're not doing co-ops anymore. And just for the fact that we will be moving sometime this school year, we're not doing any outside classes. So we are going to do art at home, and I decided to purchase I Can Do All Things. This is another curriculum from My Father's World. I actually never did this with my older children when we were doing the My Father's World curriculum. So I'm excited to do this with him. I think he'll enjoy it. I imagine my preschooler is probably going to want to join in as well. So we'll have our little art class set up. My older kids are using artistic pursuits, and then my younger kids will be doing I Can Do All Things. So super, super excited about that. And then, of course, I will also share what we are doing for our family subjects. That's where we fit in all of the riches. And we're going to do things a little bit differently this school year. I'm kind of excited about it. We're going to be learning about manners, and we do Shakespeare together and Plutarch, which he's really too young for Plutarch, but he'll be there anyway while we're doing it. And yeah, we're just going to have a great time during morning time. That'll be in a future video. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more homeschooling videos, and I will see you in the next one.